Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to another edition of Wes vs. Backlog. This time I'm taking a look at a game that I'm actually still in the process of completing and playing. Evoland 2. Evoland 2 was released on PC in August of 2015, and then for the Mac OS X in December of 2015. It's actually a follow-up to the original Evoland, which came out in 2013. The main gimmick of both Evoland and Evoland 2 is telling the game's stories through actual time-shifting developments, but not like in a bullet time or slow motion way. Rather, these two games use the aesthetics of older generations of video games, namely the regular Nintendo, Game Boy, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1 and 2, to kind of tell their stories. While the first really used this feature more of a proof of concept that traced the evolution of video games and RPGs, Evoland 2 really digs into tying these time travel mechanics into the narrative in the game itself. So I have a soft spot for the first Evoland, as it's the only game in my Steam library that I have 100% completed. I platinumed it, whatever you want to call it. I got all of the achievements. My playtime for Evoland 1 is about 9 hours, but that is also with me going back and replaying parts that I really liked. And actually collecting everything. So the game got in, got out, and said what it needed to say, and the experience was a little shallow, but I appreciated the fact that you could beat it if you wanted to all in one sitting. So in regards to Evoland 2, the game is much, much bigger. I'm over 14 hours into the game, according to the game clock, and I think I've barely hit the halfway mark. I just had a big plot twist happen, and now I kind of know what the next part of the story is going to be. I have to go collect some things, and that's going to lead up to a big final showdown and boss fight type of deal. So while I haven't finished the game, I can safely say that while some of the advancements of the nostalgia mechanics are good and welcome, the fact is I do think the game is biting off a little more than it can chew. So first, let me say so far that I love the time travel elements as it relates to the actual narrative and the story. So going from the regular Nintendo era to a PS2 era dungeon, storylines and characters can refer back to each other, and it gets pretty funny, pretty good, pretty on the nose. But overall, they do it really, really well. It's fantastic. It's a smart way, in my opinion, to implement the idea. So for instance, a character that you meet in, let's say, the PlayStation 1 era can travel back with you to the Super Nintendo era, and that character can end up meeting what would then be their father before he had met that character's mother. So like weird Back to the Future stuff. Also, the landscape itself of the game world can change. So let's say you're in an area with a few baby trees and bushes planted to the north of an upstart village in the Super Nintendo era. Let's say it fast forwards to the PlayStation 2 era. Now that same place is a huge thriving city, and it has an enormous forest that you have to get to, or that you have to get through to the north. So it plays with that type of stuff really well. Details like that really drive the story forward, and it makes sure that you keep your eyes and ears to the ground, kind of pay attention to your surroundings, because you never know what cool tricks or gimmicks you might find. So not only does the time travel stuff drive the narrative, it also drives the gameplay. And this is where Evoland 2 can kind of be hit and miss with me. So one moment you can be exploring a Zelda-esque dungeon, while the next moment you're in a shoot 'em up, kind of like Gradius, and then that leads to a 2D platformer like Castlevania, and then it ends up with a Street Fighter boss fight. So it's cool in theory, but some of these modes are handled much better than the others. So for instance, the Street Fighter fight was a pretty fun little exercise. They did it well. It had all the same, had the health bars, it had combos, it had that stuff, so it worked well. However, the 2D platforming is not so good. There's especially an area that comes to mind where there's invisible, time-sensitive platforms, and you have to learn the pattern, and the jumping doesn't feel quite right, and it's just a pain. It took me like 25 minutes to get through it, because it just didn't work the way it should have, in my opinion. It's just not responsive in the way that you would like it to be. So while you can play all of these genres across your time in Evoland 2, in my opinion, only a few of them really work well for the engine that they have. And something else to consider, I really love the original Evoland because it was a proof of concept. It was fulfilling, it was bite-sized, you could play it on a rainy afternoon, it had some good nostalgia tricks, and you could kind of see games that you loved in it. But with Evoland 2, it's really put all of its eggs in this one basket, and it's like 25 to 30 hours long, seeing other people's completion time. And then if you want to get everything, you're looking at 35 to 40 hours. And, you know, a lot of it works extremely well. It does. It plays well, puts a smile on your face, you see stuff that you remember and you recall. But that's a long time. For the one gimmick, it feels like a long time. And those off moments, like the 2D platforming, and there are a few other puzzle areas and things like that that just don't quite work as well. It can kind of ruin the overall flow and the experience of the game. So I'll play Evoland 2 to completion, as I am enjoying my time with it overall. But I think it's safe to say that Evoland 2 is that testament to the phrase, more isn't always better. I do recommend the game, and if the footage you're seeing is intriguing to you and you kind of like what you see, I definitely think you should check it out. There's a lot that I haven't mentioned, simply because I don't want to give away all the game's tricks. There are like certain characters you might meet and things like that, which if you're a big fan of, like I am, of games starting from NES all the way up, you know, to current day stuff, you're going to find a lot to like, but just know you should probably temper your expectations, because while a lot of the game works and plays well, there are some points that'll just get frustrating. And if you keep that in mind, I do think you're going to enjoy it a lot more, and you're going to really enjoy this game for what it's worth. But overall, guys, that is my time. Let me know what you think of Evoland 2 in the comments. Let me know what you think of the review in the comments. You can always hit me up on Twitter, twitter.com/KamiDaHobo. Also, go to the brand new Facebook page, facebook.com/KamiDaHobo. Of course, keep it locked at KamiDaHobo.com for all of the show notes, all the episodes posted up, podcasts, whatever you may need. It's all right there for you. But that's my time, guys. Yeah, next episode's coming soon. But until next time, guys, peace.